food. Nutritious substances eaten by humans and animals and used to grow and maintain life. However, some people don't really care about that maintain life part. For some people, food is what drives them to murder. Here are 5 people that committed murder over food in this episode of Twisted World. Mooching. That's apparently grounds for murder. 59-year-old James Butterball of Indiana, Pennsylvania was at the home of 51-year-old David Ackerson, where he fell asleep inside of his pickup truck. The two men had been drinking beer before Ackerson went to church, and Butterball fell back to sleep in the truck. Butterball would soon be awakened by Ackerson, who had brought the two a plate of food each, this food having been given to Ackerson by Butterball's mother. This angered Butterball due to the fact that he believed that Ackerson always mooched off people. Butterball soon after took off down a dirt road between the two men's homes, with Ackerson close behind. Ackerson then approached Butterball's stopped truck, where he was told to leave or get shot. Ackerson replied, "Go ahead and shoot me," and that's exactly what Butterball did. Butterball then called 911 to report his crime. A senseless killing over a simple plate of food. It's also not like Ackerson took the food from Butterball's mother and didn't bring any for his friend. Butterball just didn't like the fact that he had a plate for himself. For this act, James Butterball received 4.5 years to 10 years in prison after pleading guilty to voluntary manslaughter. I'll be honest, if you try and take some of my chicken, I'll get a bit angry. But not as much as this next guy. Reynaldo Rivera and his roommate Darwin Gonzalez had been eating together when an argument broke out over the last piece of chicken, a chicken drumstick to be exact. The two men were with 2 other men as they prepared dinner while drinking alcohol. During this, Gonzalez took the last chicken drumstick for himself and ate it. What a monster. The duo then began an argument before getting physical outside of their building in the parking lot. Rivera then pulled out a steak knife and fatally stabbed Gonzalez. All over a piece of chicken. Sometimes being left out can make people feel upset, but this next case takes that feeling to a whole new level. 32-year-old Ronald Pritchett was at home when his parents decided to go out for food. Pretty standard day for most people, until they returned home and they hadn't brought any food for Ronald. Ronald was then reported to have become very enraged at this. His rage must have been very scary though, as his parents ran to their bedroom and locked the door behind them, hiding from Ronald. Ronald managed to kick down the door and began to stab the both of them. When the police arrived, they discovered that Ronald's mother, Renita, had sustained multiple stab wounds to the head, and that his father, Percival, was found with multiple stab wounds to the chest, with his father dying shortly after reaching hospital. Ronald then fled the scene after stealing his father's 97 Chevrolet Suburban, but was soon after apprehended thanks to the aid of the police canine unit. Ronald sustained minor injuries thanks to the canine and was charged with second-degree murder, attempted second-degree murder, and auto theft. While this is a horrific case, the story suddenly takes a bit of a change when you discover that Ronald had been diagnosed at the age of 18 with schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. He was never able to accept the help that he needed, and when his parents didn't bring him any food one day, he lost it. Ronald's brother Christopher was even quoted as saying, "Nobody's going to kill you over a cheeseburger," meaning that if Ronald had received the help that he needed, he may have never attempted to murder his mother or succeed in murdering his father. On March 16, 2016, Ronald was found incompetent of standing trial for his charges. Ronald was sent to receive long-term treatment in hospital where doctors would try and stabilise him enough to go on with the trial, or to find out if he is legally unrestorable. Sadly, that's the last we know of this story. A sad occurrence of events that just got sadder and sadder. Sometimes it's not even food being consumed that can get a person murdered. Shane Tunney and Anthony Kirk were walking down Norton High Street in Stockton-on-Tees, England on June 27, 2015. Tunney and Kirk were minding their own business when using a cash machine when 7 people between the ages of 16 and 18 began to throw food down onto the two friends from the roof of a Tesco Express store. Tunney then tried to climb up to the roof to stop them, but within minutes the group of 7 began to kick and beat Kirk and Tunney to the floor. Tunney almost even called the police but didn't, and elected instead to call for a taxi, but the attack from the 7 kids would continue and he was left for dead. Shane Tunney suffered a severe head injury with swelling on his brain and bleeding. He unfortunately fell into a coma and tragically died in hospital a month later on July 29th. The 7 individuals involved in this senseless murder were all sentenced to time in prison. 2 were sentenced to life with a minimum of 15 years and 13 years respectively, 1 to 7 years for manslaughter and attempted grievous bodily harm. 2 were sentenced to 4.5 years for manslaughter, and the 17 and 16-year-olds that were involved were given 4 years and 3 years for manslaughter respectively. 7 young lives ruined, 1 life ended, and countless others changed because of food. All because someone didn't particularly like having food thrown at him. Truly senseless. You don't even have to have your freedom to be killed over food. Ryan Mansfield, who was serving a 5-year prison sentence for burglary and grand larceny, was found dead in his cell. He'd been strangled to death. His cellmate, Michael Jerome Bryce, was then questioned by police about a possible altercation between the 2 cellmates, and Bryce then made statements that implicated himself in the killing of Mansfield. The arrest warrant issued for Bryce's murder charge stated that Bryce strangled Mansfield while engaged in a physical altercation over the theft of food. It seems Mansfield took the food from Bryce accidentally or purposefully, and Bryce decided to take matters into his own hands, literally, and end the other man's life. Bryce was already serving a 13-year prison sentence for dealing crack cocaine, weapons charges and other crimes. Adding murder to the sentence could mean that he never leaves prison. Is the rest of your life really worth a piece of food that was probably already eaten? No, it's really not. Thank you for watching this episode of Twisted World. Creepy and true horror content on YouTube have been attacked recently, with multiple channels having their videos demonetized simply for being on this chosen subject matter. I myself have fallen victim to this too. I'm a small YouTube creator, but that's no reason that you still shouldn't hit the subscribe button and the little bell to be notified of when my new videos go live. Views show YouTube that this content is wanted on YouTube, so share this with as many people as you can and you will always have my eternal gratitude. Thank you for watching. And next time you think of messing with someone and it involves food, don't. You may never be around afterwards to regret that decision. And don't forget,
the shadows have the best stories.